So in this video presentation, I will discuss your source transformation. What is your source transformation? So according to your source transformation theorem is that you may interchange, or you may substitute a voltage source with a series resistance into a current source that is a parallel resistance. So let's say this will be my V and this is my R. Can we substitute it into a current source, which is a parallel, wherein you will parallel the resistance. Okay, so this is the basic terminology for your source transformation, or vice versa. But how will you do this? By what you call your Ohm's law, which is equal to V is equal to IR, wherein this I and your R will not change, wherein your I is basically equal to V over R. So take note, the source transformation of your independent sources is the same as the source transformation of your dependent sources. So positive, negative V can be transformed into a current source with the use of your Ohm's law. Okay, so another important thing to remember is the position or the direction of your current. So the direction of your current will always be toward the positive. So pag transform mo to into a voltage transformation, into current transformation, so therefore the direction of your current must always be toward the positive. So how about pag baliktad naman, sir? So paano pag ganito? So I have my negative and positive, I have my R. So how will I give its voltage transformation? So parang katulad lang din yan. So take note that your current direction is towards the positive. Okay, so this will be the transformation. Okay, so wag niyong kakalimutan yung terminals natin. So the same is true with your independent sources. Always follow the positive sign when you are transforming your voltage source into a current source toward the positive sign. So when transforming voltage to current source, always remember that the direction of the current source is toward our positive polarity. Okay, when transforming a voltage to current source, always remember that the direction of the current source is toward the positive polarity. So let's have an example. So sample 1. So let's say I have a 6 ohm resistor parallel with a 5 ampere independent current source, and then in parallel with a 3 ohm resistor and a positive 5 volt source, and then we have our 7 ohm, and basically there is what you call your IO in this node. Then we have our 3 ampere, and a 1 and 4 ohm resistor. Okay, so find the value of ISO using source transform. Find IO using source transform. Okay, if you are transforming your circuit, so papadali nyo yung buhay nyo. Okay, so let's first evaluate your 5 and 6 your 6 and 3 ohm. So you would notice that they will be in similar node. So therefore I may say that my R 6 in parallel with 3 is equal to 6 in parallel with 3 ohm. So therefore we have 1 over 6 raised to negative 1 plus 3 raised to negative 1 is equal to 2 ohms, which is in parallel with your 5 ampere. So therefore I may rewrite our circuit diagram into a 5 ampere current source, and then a 2 ohm combination of your 3 and 6 ohm resistor, and then it is connected in a positive 5 volts, and then we have the 7 ohm resistor, which we will get the IO. And then take note that your 1 ohm and your 4 ohm resistor are connected in series, so it is safe to say that it is equal to 5 ohm. Okay, our next solution is to transform this terminal into equivalent voltage source. So take note that this is a 5 ampere, so transform into equivalent voltage source. You can see that the figure is very familiar. Saan nyo ba nakita yung figure na yan? Wherein you have a 5 ampere independent source in parallel with the 2 ohm resistor. So in this figure, okay, right? So therefore I may transform this one into a voltage source transformation. So I have V is equal to IR. So we have 5 ampere multiplied by 2 ohm. I have my 10 volts. So take note, the direction of your current is going up. So therefore at new circuit will have a positive negative 10 volts, and then the series isi-series natin yung 2 ohm mo, and then we will connect it to this terminal. Okay, so that will be our source transform value. Okay, and then it is connected in series, your negative and positive 5 volts, Then you have our 7 ohm IO, and then our 3 ampere source, and our 5 ohm resistor. Okay, so take note that your 5 volts and 10 volts are additive. So how? So pag gumawa ko ng loop dito, mapapansin mo that it is negative 5 minus negative 10 is equal to the voltage across that terminal. Okay, so we will have a voltage total is equal to negative 15 volts, tama ba? So pag negative 15 volts tayo, which means pag inad mo silang additive silang dalawa, so therefore it is negative 15 volts. Okay, kung lalagay natin plus V for the voltage, the independent voltage between these two terminals, this terminal, so we have 15 volts. So we have 5 plus 10. To take that is a additive. So paano pag pumasok sa positive, that is a subtractive voltage. So therefore I may say that it can be related into positive, negative 15 volts. So pag makikita mo, pag pinasok ko rin yung negative dyan, negative 15 yung lalabas, and then your 2 ampere 2 ohm resistor, and then 2 ohm resistor. Okay, that is our new, this is our new transformation. Okay, and then your 7 ohm resistor IO, and then your 3 ampere independent current source, and then your 5 ohm resistor. Next is that we will transform this circuit into its equivalent current source transformation. Transform to current source. So take note how will we transform this into current source. So V is equal to IR, our V is equal to 15, our I is equal to 2, our R is equal to 2 multiplied by our I. So therefore our I is equal to 7.5 ampere. So therefore it is like this figure. So going up, kasi nga this is our positive. So 7.5 amps in parallel with our 2 ohm that would be connected to this terminal. So we will have a value or a new circuit, which is basically your 7.5 ampere in parallel with a 2 ohm resistance, which will be connected to a 7 ohm IO, 7 ohm resistance to my IO, and then our 3 ampere and my 5 ohm resistor. Take note that since pataas yung dalawang, so therefore I may say that they are additive, so I will add them. So therefore I of 7.5 plus 3 at parallel connection is just equal to 7.5 ampere plus 3 ampere, which is equal to 10.5 ampere. Okay, so therefore we will have a new current equivalent source, which is 10.5 ampere, and then it is connected in parallel with the combination of your 5 ohms and 2 ohms. So R of 5 in parallel to 2, so we have 1 all over 5 raised to negative 1 plus 2 raised to negative 1, so we have 10 over 7. Okay, so we have a 10/7 resistor in parallel with your 7 ohm and your IO. Okay, actually this figure is again familiar because we may transform it into its transform to equivalent voltage source. To equivalent voltage source, so we will have a transformation equal to V is equal to IR, wherein our I is equal to 10.5 ampere multiplied by our R is equal to 10/7. Therefore our V is equal to 10.5 multiplied by 10/7. It is equal to 15 volts. Okay, that is our V. So take note that your R will be in series. So therefore I may rewrite it into this circuit diagram. So we have our, take note of the direction of the current, so positive, negative, 15 volts, and then we have a series resistor which is 10/7. So itong resistor na to maging series siya, and then it will be in series with your 7 ohm, and then meron tayong IO na papunta sa 7 ohm natin. Actually we can already solve it immediately. So we have, since this is a series circuit, therefore IO is equal to I at 10/7, which is equal to I7, which is equal to V over R, wherein our V is equal to 15 volts all over our R is equal to 10/7 plus 7, the total of this resistor. Okay, so therefore my IO is equal to 15 divided by 10/7 plus 7, which is equal to 1.779 1.77966 ampere, or simply it is equal to 1.78 ampere. Okay, that would be our IO. Okay, that is the answer. So did you recap the topic? So mapapansin nyo, yung first na ginawa ko is pinagpaaral ko muna yung 3 and 6 ohm. After that I will recognize my voltage source transformation into my current source transformation. Then in order to check whether these two voltages are additive, so I made a loop or KVL at loop 1. So upon KVL at loop 1, I notice that the two voltages will add up. So therefore I will add them as a positive I1. And then after that we will proceed to this circuit diagram wherein we already add your 10 and 5 volts, and then you will get or you will again transform this current in this circuit into a current source, which is using your IR. Our I is equal to 7.5, and always take note that your I must be with the arrow of the I must, wherein the arrow on your I must be go or must be towards the positive of your voltage source, 15 ohms or any voltage source. So after that is that I evaluated this one, so 7.5 and 2 ohm, and then we made a parallel combination of your 5 and 2 ohms, and after that we add the currents 3 ohm and 5 ohm because they are additive. So if how will you know whether they are additive. So pag nagloop ka, nagkaroon ka ng KCL dito, then you can see that these two are going to that KCL, therefore that positive silang dalawa. Okay, so after that we will have a value equal to 10.5 multiplied by 10 over 7 in order to get the value of your voltage 15 volts. So ito siya. And then after that, take note that your resistor will be in series with another room. In series with your 7 ohm resistor. Okay? So your 10 over 7 is in series with 7 ohm resistor. So 10 over 7 plus 7. So upon knowing or upon noticing this one, so you will see that your 15 volts will be your 15 or your IO will be equal to 15 divided by 10 over 7 plus 7, which is equal to 1.7796 ampere. That is our source transformation.